This is Production Values, the Art of Amdram podcast, a show all about amateur dramatic and musical productions. In this series, we will follow amateur productions from the initial idea through to show week. We will include previews of upcoming shows, reviews of shows already open, and take you backstage to hear how it all comes together. Episode 8. Professionals in Amdram. I recently got the chance to interview Pelham Elliot, one of our regular cast members and directors at the Bury Theatre Workshop and other East Anglia Amdram groups. As well as a very active member of these groups, Pelham is also a professional actor. I thought it would be interesting to discuss his professional work and why he also enjoys being involved in local amateur productions. The interview is split into two parts, starting with our discussion about his recent TV, music video work and his time as a regular on the murder mystery circuit. In the following episode I will include part 2 of the interview, where we discuss his love of Amdram. I hope you enjoy the interview as much as I did recording it. Well, thanks Nick for talking to me. So I've got a long list of questions to ask you.
That's correct.
The first one being, how did you start doing professional work?
Well, my very first professional job was in about 1984-5 when I was 14. Mm. And I don't think you know this from previously. I actually was an extra, if you like, as a school pupil with Roy Kinnear. And if you remember, he's the father of Rory Kinnear, a comedian. And he was doing loads of adverts for what was called the Peterborough Fete. It was to advertise, Peterborough being a new town, it was to get businesses and companies and people to move to Peterborough.
Right.
I never saw them. They were shown on London television and I lived in Peterborough. But one of the things was him as a Roman centurion going into a school, and it happened to be my school. So during the summer holidays, we were asked if anybody who wanted to volunteer to do something during the summer holidays, and didn't say what. And then you found out if you did volunteer. So that was and I got paid the grand sum of £50.
Proper first professional
as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
£50. Right. So that was the first one. And then there was quite a gap. And then I was, again, an extra. It was a supernumerary, was a strict title, at the National Theatre in the early 90s for Stephen Daldry's production of An Inspector Calls, when that was revived. And that was with Richard Pascoe and Barbara Lee Hunt and Kenneth Cronin playing the inspector. Mm-hmm. And that was a great experience because it was at the National Theatre, got paid for it, but also you had all the facilities at the National Theatre. You could go to voice classes and things like this, use the canteen, use the green room, mix with actors. So you'd be walking down the corridor and you would have Patricia Routledge coming the other way singing her songs for June is bursting out all over.
Nice.
And things like this. So,
this is before Mrs. Bouquet
before
days.
Mrs. Well, yeah, it must have been just before. It was she was doing theatre. I think she'd done television, but I don't think it was Mrs. Bouquet.
Because was it a school thing that gave you the bug for acting, or did you already have it?
I already had it. My parents started a drama group at the church, and I would have been about probably 7 or 8 then. Right. I just loved it.
Family firm.
Absolutely, and I just loved it. So that definitely started it. And then I joined an amateur group in Peterborough when I was there. And then, it was quite fun doing the advert with Awakening, because obviously that was the first time I'd ever seen like television and all of those aspects of it.
Right, right. And more recently, have you done some TV, as we've talked about before? The one I'm going to ask you about first is Ted Lasso.
Oh, yes.
Because we didn't know you were in that. We already knew you by that point, I think. And absolutely adored the show. We loved Ted Lasso. So how did that come about?
So I belonged to 3 different extras agencies, and it was one of them. What happens with any of those, they will ask for your availability, and they'll ask a whole lot of people of roughly the right age or whatever for the availability, and then the casting director will then choose who they want and go from there.
Do you have like I remember when our daughters did modelling, they had like a head sheet sort of thing with details and photos.
So they have the photos. So each year I have to renew all the photos, so they're most recent, and all the vital statistics, which is slightly embarrassing if you see the weight go up each year as you put it on. And so they have all of that information, and obviously basic stuff like height and everything else. Yeah. So they then send the availability request, which at that time is literally just that. It's just see who's available. they then ask you to pencil it in so that you're not double booked for anything, and then you either get released if you want, or you get a heavy pencil, and then you get
So
cast.
there's not an audition then for that sort of thing?
No, for this sort of thing there isn't. It is purely that it'll be depending on what the casting director thinks looks right with what they're trying to go for. Obviously, in effect, your background, so they want to make sure that they have the right mix, I suppose, of ages or whatever. So in this particular one, when I was a passenger on the airplane, as he was flying over to England for the first time, and it was first class passenger, which was nice. And you have to, they tell you if it's a period thing, they will costume you. But obviously, if it's a modern thing, they normally ask you to bring selections of costumes.
Yeah.
And the secret I've learnt now is to wear the one you most want wear when you go there, the one you most want to be wearing.
Oh, okay.
That's the most comfortable and looks nicest. And hope they pick that and not something else you've got to get out of your bag and all that.
Right.
We still have with that. They like the suit I chose.
And where did you shoot that?
That was shot. It was film studios at Hayes, so just outside London, West London. And it was, the first class airplane is plywood box, basically.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You literally walk up the steps of what you think is a plywood box, then you go in, and you're in a first class.
And was it like really convincing, even up close?
Totally. Yeah. So in fact, so much so I said I can see why people fly first class.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to shoot your bit?
Well, the actual shooting, they do various shots because obviously it depends what angle they're going to end up using on the final film. The shooting doesn't take all that long. Probably we were doing it with all the different shots and everything else for about an hour at most. But it's a long day because you arrive there first thing in the morning for them to check the costume and decide. And then there is an awful lot. Anybody who wants to be an extra needs to know there is an awful lot of waiting around where you're not doing anything. You get fed usually, which is quite nice. And then you're caught. And it depends. Sometimes you might have more than one scene you're shooting. But in this particular one, it was just that one scene I was doing, as were the other people who were in the plane.
Yeah.
Other of the group of us who were there were shooting earlier on and then weren't required for that, and so on. So it varies.
Because having seen the show and been a fan of the show, I can remember what the main cast were doing. But did you have any involvement with them, or you aware of what they were doing?
Where I was sitting on the plane, they were more or less in front of me. So I was a side seat, and they were in a few seats ahead. So so I could see what was happening.
Right.
Obviously, because I'm supposedly a background, and therefore I'm not meant to be interested in these people who I don't know who they are. I couldn't look at them. In fact, I had to pretend to be asleep most of the time, which was quite a comfortable bit of filming.
Yes, because in the real world of that,
nobody knows who they are when they arrive, do they?
It's just two people talking.
So they have the conversation, but it was quite nice hearing that conversation. And you hear it lots of times because I say they do lots of different, they shoot it several times from different angles or and you also usually have a rehearsal just to make sure that everything looks right on the camera before they start it. So it meant that particular scene of those handful of lines I knew quite well by the end of it.
Right.
And I never got to see it because I didn't get that particular channel until when I went to Becky's.
Ah, yes.
Your daughter's. And she said, "Oh, but let me go."
I'll let you show
and
you.
That's the first time I saw me.
Yeah.
Because quite often as an extra, you shoot something and then you say, "Oh yeah, I'll definitely be on it because main actor's only over there." And then that's the bit they decide to cut. So it was actually really nice.
So extras end up on the cutting room floor a lot, sort of thing. Yeah, often. Yeah. Another one that we watched that at the time we didn't know you were involved in was, and I can't remember the show. It's either called the Rise and Fall of Ashley Maddison or just Ashley Maddison. That's a Netflix show.
It was about the Ashley Maddison, wasn't it? And it was called. It was something Sex and Scandal or something like that.
I know they always have subtitles.
It was it was a like a docudrama, wasn't it?
I mean, we watched that avidly and loved that. It was only afterwards we found out you were in it. And we were like, now we can't not see that it's you that's in it.
Yes.
And again, did that job come through your agents as well?
Again, that was an extras agency, but it was what's called a featured extra, which is always nice because it means you do get your credit on the titles. And that was quite interesting because I didn't know what it was we were filming. You just obviously there again, you were told, are you available for such and such? And I got that because I looked like the character I was portraying because it was a documentary and it was one of those where you have the person talking over what's happened.
Yeah.
And then in the background, you see the reconstruction, if you like. So I didn't speak at all, but I looked sufficiently like this particular character that I was lucky enough to be cast. It's quite nice looking like somebody.
A Swedish guy, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
it was. Yes, I seem to quite often get cast as Swedish people, which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, having worked with a lot of Swedish people, I can kind of see that.
Okay.
Where were you seen shot for Ashley Maddison?
Right, well, they were filmed 2 different places. One was some studios, I think, in an old airbase just outside Norwich, sort of north of Norwich. So quite a lot of them were filmed there. So there's one scene where I'm carrying a case towards a hotel or motel. That was filmed there. They've actually got a motel set permanently in place in this particular place. And then some of the internal office shots were filmed. They'd mocked up an office within the big studio area. So some of those was there. And then we did more filming was actually in an old office building in Norwich, of all places. So it's quite interesting.
Didn't fly to New York.
They didn't, unfortunately. And in fact, I think we were filming on the top floor of this office building. Lovely views of Norwich, but obviously in the film they're not Norwich at all.
No.
It's very clever.
It's very low camera angle, I seem to remember, so you can't.
Very cleverly done.
Yeah, you'd easily spot where you were if you could see out of
if you saw
the
Norwich
window.
Cathedral, you think, hang on a minute.
Yeah, I recognise that. Doesn't look like you.
Right?
Yeah. As a computer geek myself, I was highly impressed by your coding skills. How did they achieve that? Can you really code?
Funnily enough, no, I can't. That was quite clever because they basically had a running, I was going to say film, I don't know what it counts as on a computer, but it was constantly going up with all the numbers and the things and all this.
So you just had to thrash away?
Yeah, so literally I just was tapping away at random keys, but not...
It was very convincing.
Yeah, but the thing is, there was one button that if I pressed it or it didn't press something, I accidentally once turned it off in the middle of filming, so the screen went blank and then cut, start again.
Right, okay. Oops.
So yeah, that's pure fiction, me being able to code.
So I've got a question here I was going to ask about scripting, because you don't have dialogue, but obviously there's action. So how do they handle that?
Yeah, so with that one, I mean, obviously... Same with most of them. They will tell you obviously what you're portraying and what's happening in the scene, and therefore how you. I mean, the Ted Lasso was reasonably straightforward. It said you're passing on the first class, and then in a minute the lights will go off, and you because it's night time, and you'll then pretend to be asleep. Dead easy. With this one, obviously they told us a bit of the background, and when they told us what it was about, I recognised the real story. You know, I remembered because it was quite a thing at the time. The scandal, and they basically said, right, you're this good hacker, if you like, coming in to help.
You were like the anti-hacker.
Exactly. To try and solve it myself and the other guy. And there was one time where I'm handing over money, which actually happened.
That's the scene, I have to say, where now it's like so obvious.
You would know instantly it's me.
But we watched it and does not
because you wouldn't know. Yeah, so that was filmed. Funny enough, that was also at North and Norfolk. That diner, they've got a diner set up basically like that. It's amazing, and that's when we had the break. That's where we also had our lunch in an American diner. So
in a fake American diner.
That's great.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
One of the jobs you've done that I wanted to ask you about is a music video, which is the Mick Jagger music video. For anybody who doesn't know, there's a Mick Jagger video for his song called England Lost, which is sort of anti-Brexit song that he recorded. Which Pelham is in. So did that come through your agency again?
That was a deal. At the time, I belonged to a commercials casting agency, which for various personal reasons, I put on the books because of the commitment and everything else involved in that. But that came through them. That I did have to audition for. And I can remember one of the audition bits I had to do, I had to almost act like a spy behind a newspaper looking at somebody. And then when it came to filming it 2 or 3 months later, they said, if you could do similar to what you did in the audition. And I was desperately trying to remember I have trouble remembering what I did 3 days ago, let alone 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But it was obviously convincing enough. Obviously, when people see the video, I think my character was called a smoking businessman.
Oh.
Which is what he does. And there's a scene there where I basically watch the character played by Luke Evans come out, and I'm watching him in the words as he goes along. The camera does a
just
close-up.
to note, if anybody wants to see that, I checked the other day. You're 30 seconds in, you make your appearance.
That sounds right way, actually. And then I appear later on as well. Anyway, yes. I make regular appearances. Yeah. But yes, and after there again, several shots from different angles and so on, with a herbal cigarette. I was hoping I'd get an actual genuine cigarette, having not long given up, and thought it was a nice excuse. But it was a herbal cigarette because they don't go out so easily as a normal cigarette would.
Right.
You weren't actually smoking it. But at the end of it, the final shot, when that scene was wrapped, the cameraman turned to me and said, "Oh, you were really sinister in that. You were really scary. Yeah, nailed it."
Excellent. Yeah.
So so that was interesting. And as I say, it was almost done like a film noir. There's people watch it, it's black and white, and it's got that kind of almost like spy vibe and everything else.
And if anybody wants to see Pelham action, to say about 30 seconds, he gives Luke Evans a very dodgy, sinister look, don't you? Very long look.
Oh yes.
Later on in the video, Luke Evans has been running, and then he stops and looks back, and there's a mysterious character walks across in the distance. Was that you as well? It's like a long palisade.
Is that with the gates? There's like metal gates or something.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, there's one bit where I do, as he's running through that. So I've seen him already. He looks and he sees another character. That's not me. That's somebody else. And then he runs, after that, he runs through like a little courtyard, and there are gates, and somebody steps out. That's me.
And that's you.
And then as he's running along further, there are two characters in the distance. One of those is me.
Okay.
And then at the very end,
he runs onto a beach.
He's on a beach.
And you're looking down on him.
I'm looking down at him.
And there's a little girl had a couple of lines.
She was great.
Was she?
Yeah,
was good.
Genuinely, yeah.
Yeah, she delivered her lines well.
She was very good.
For as much as I could comment on anything like that. Did you get to speak to Luke Evans?
Not much. And often that is the case that you don't see. And to be fair to him, if I remember rightly, he'd been filming in East Europe. I can't remember what, because he was doing, I think, Games of Thrones at the time. I could be wrong about that because I've never seen Games of Thrones. Produced all those Games of Thrones fans. But I have a feeling, but certainly he was filming somewhere in East Europe for something. So he was flown over just for the weekend of filming this, and then. So I think he might also have been slightly tired.
Fair enough. I mean, anybody trying to place the name Luke Evans, he played Bard in The Desolation of Smaug in the Hobbit films, and he was Gaston in the live-action version.
I was going to say he was
a
live-action Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, he was one of the highlights.
Very different character in that music video.
Yes. And he was somebody that when I first saw the video, I was having to place, which is why I thought I'd point out what he'd done in case anybody listening is thinking, where do I know him from?
I didn't know who he was when I was filming.
Fair enough.
It was only other people telling me.
Yeah, you know who he is.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So over the last few years, I've talked about the ones that I was aware of. What other work have you done?
Well, I did... And the name has gone completely off me. I was in there was a children's series. I won't say Hetty Feather, and I don't think that's correct. And there were people probably will be screaming at their screens. Yeah. Written by Jacqueline Wilson.
Right.
Was the author. It was a children's BBC. So
Hetty Wainwright?
No, because that's Patricia Routledge.
That's Patricia Routledge. That's why that name's got in my mind.
I'm getting it completely right. Anyway, so I played a character, a christening Edwardian character, which was actually filmed. That was a while ago now, because that was the same time as the England Lost video, like the week after that. Funnily enough, I also played that same year. I did an advert for a Swedish company.
It's a Sweden link.
I know, that's what I mean. It's so peculiar playing a Swede in this. And then later on, so that was an advert, and then later on I got a random amount of money into my account, phoned the agency and said, I've already, and they said they took a still from the short film of a few seconds, and apparently I appeared on various bus stops in Sweden somewhere.
So you got paid
somewhere in Scandinavia. There were big pictures of me on bus stops.
Right. So occasionally you get random checks. Something's been reused.
Very odd. Yeah, that was very nice. You don't often get those. But extras wise, I've done various things. I did The Relic, which is a BBC drama series. I was a hand double in that. which was quite fun. So there's a picture. We actually got a snapshot off the television of me holding a memory card from a phone, because I was a hand double for that, which was quite nice. Recently I was going to be a passerby, and then they said, oh, actually we need somebody to, you're about the right size for his clothes, because obviously I had to walk on in the clothes of the character I was doing a hand double for.
Oh, right.
Because obviously they needed to reshoot this and they didn't have the actor there. And to be absolutely honest and cynical, it's cheaper to have have me do it than the actual actor.
Yes.
What else have I done? I've been CID and Socko in Midsummer Murders.
Oh, right.
Which are fun. And I'm really bad at names. She's awful. But the lady who plays the main woman who does the autopsy, my brain's definitely not functioning today. Yeah. She was lovely. She was, because I was Socko, so in effect we were her team.
Oh yes.
She brought us all sweets.
Nice.
She said, I've got a bag of sweets for you.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And how long ago was that?
That was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think what I did. I did some last year. My brain is not functioning today.
That's all right.
But yeah, there was, unfortunately, it does very much depend. Like I said, they send you the availability requests. And if it's something you are available for, whether you get it or not will depend on the casting. But also a lot of them recently, I've just not been able to do. Funnily enough, I had an email this morning about one, and I said, can't do that. Because I'm on way. Yeah. So some of it is pure chance. And as you know, I do a lot of the murder mysteries at the weekends as well. And that's how I keep my hand into
That's something I'm going to ask you about.
Acting. Was it? Oh, fine.
It didn't make it onto the questions. Yeah. Anything coming up?
Well, there's a pencil for something as an extra, which is like 2 days coming up in October. But whether I get that, and although we're already in October, literally,
it can be quite short.
It can be, yeah. So today, I got told I wasn't needed for one tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's how short notice. And to be honest, in my head, I'd assumed I hadn't got it. So it's probably quite good they said that, because if they'd said, "Oh, yes, you're needed for so and so tomorrow." Okay, now I've got to work out what clothes I need to take. Yeah, there's because I'm doing other stuff as well, and obviously I'm rehearsing. Although I will be doing amateur stuff, so I'm not being paid for it. If I've got rehearsals scheduled for that, I still treat it as a professional thing, and I won't book something for those days, which does then slightly restrict.
Right.
I mean, there's and also I can't talk about stuff that I'm penciled in for. There is something quite nice that I'm penciled in for that I would really love to get if it happens. It does.
Fair enough. Now, you mentioned murder mysteries. That was something else. One of the other professional roles you do is random corpse and detective, I seem to recall.
Corpse, detective, suspect.
Oh, okay.
Often playing an adulterous Tory MP, it appears.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it is about me that gets
you must have that look.
There's obviously a look of an adulterous Tory MP, in between looking Scandinavian, perhaps.
So is that through an agency that runs, or is there a company that does murder mysteries? And there are actually
recruit? A couple I'm with now. Yeah, there are a couple of companies I'm with, and there again, they will have certain dates. I mean, the main one I work with, which I can name their names because they won't mind, which is Murder 57 Limited, who do hundreds of murder mysteries across the country. They will send a list of all the dates and venues they are doing murders in for the following month or the couple of months ahead. You can then say which ones you can get to in terms of travel. And also that you're available for time, and also if it's a specific time period that that it's something you've got the costume for.
Yes, I was going to say, do they expect you to have the costumes for those?
Yeah. I mean, most of the ones I've done recently have mainly been modern dress anyway. So that's quite straightforward. It might be an evening suit or whatever, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. I've done some 20s, but there again, I've got a dinner suit that does for that, or I've got a normal suit that ties in. So you then reply and say which ones you're available to do. They will then come back about a month before the actual dates with the casting, because obviously they've got to have the balance of cast ages and gender and to make sure it works for the particular plot. So if they have loads of people of the same age applying, they've got to choose which one.
They'll have to filter through.
Will be the most.
And for anybody who's not been on a murder mystery, then are they based around a dinner or?
They are exactly that. So what happens? Certainly, there are different varieties of them, but the ones I mainly do, it's a 3-course meal, and what happens is the actors who are playing the suspects, obviously one of the suspects will also be the murderer, they will sit on different tables normally.
Oh, okay.
So you are with the guests, you get questioned, you also make sure you sort of walk around the different tables and as the evening progresses, more clues will come out, more evidence will come out, and obviously the actors, a lot of it's improvisation, but what we do, we obviously know what clues are coming out, we know our backstory, so we know how that might relate to us.
So you know which clues you need to feed out.
Yeah, and which how you react to certain ones.
Yeah,
to feed into the story.
Is there a sudden scream of anguish randomly during the meal when the murder happens, or is that always plotted out? There's always, well, not always, but there's usually a murder that occurs during the evening, which we all know about, obviously, as actors, because you have to know which one of you is going to be dead. And then, we know how we react to that particular murder. It happens presumably out of sight of the guest, so you don't spend 4 hours lying in one position.
No. What happens normally, I don't think I'm giving too many secrets away, is you are fatally injured but not dead. You then are taken away
and die on.
And you die. Well, everybody seems to die in the ambulance on the way there, so it's probably not very fair on the
NHS. Don't take comfort from the ambulance arriving.
Exactly. So you're not having to lie still for 4 hours.
Fantastic.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that, and please join us for the second part of this interview where Pelham discusses his love of amateur theatre.